Ismaeel Ahmed is a lawyer. He's also the senior special assistant to President Muhammadu Buhari on social investment programs. Barrister Ismaeel, the market, or should I say the trader money initiative of one of your programs has come under attack by Nigerians. Some Nigerians, you'd say, and they said it's too tokenistic. Can 10,000 naira loan make a difference in the life of anyone?
Thank you very much for having me, Abang, and I'm glad I have this opportunity to kind of explain to people what this trader money is. You know, when I hear people criticizing such things of government and saying it's tokenism, then I begin to understand how detached a lot of people are from the grassroots or from what really matters in this country. We are in a country where we're in a developing economy, and in developing economy, people have been hemorrhaged by serious economic realities of downsides and harshness of it. We've been around the country. We've shared this trader money, and in one of our other programs is called the cash transfer, where we give the 5,000 naira to the poorest of the poor people. If you see people who are petty traders and you see the whole of the merchandise that they are trading, it's not more than 500 naira or 1,000 naira or 2,000 naira. Someone who is selling a broken coconut, or is a sugar cane seller, who is a cartwheeler, or he sells water in jerry cans, and then the total of that amount of money or that thing that he trades on, and that's a job he's been doing for years, no more than 4,000 or 5,000 naira. Your job as a government, because the government simply does not have the resources to reach out to everyone and one fell swoop pull you out of poverty, is try to make sure that at that petty trader level, you do something to provide a more some sort of a movement from point A to point B. Right. So that 10,000 naira trader money does wonderful wonders to these petty traders. It helps them to pull themselves up by their bootstraps and move from point A to point B. And I've seen the massive impact of it because we didn't start with trader money. We started what we call market money. Right. Market money was basically a lot more money. We started from 10,000 to about 100,000. Those were more of people that had a little bigger business to do, and it's in associations. It wasn't half or even 1/10 as popular as the 10,000 naira that goes to the grassroots, because they are just numerous, and the numbers are huge and the impact is unbelievable. So for those who are saying that it is tokenism, it's absolutely not. When you are faced with the indignity of poverty, the crushing reality of it, you would understand that this is not tokenism.
A number of people also argue that the timing of this scheme makes it extremely political, with many critics calling it a grand vote buying fund.
That's not true. Of course.
Are their arguments valid?
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. You don't stop a government because you're having an election. No, we have had this program since 2016. We've had this program. We are implementing them as we go along. When we started Empower, a lot of people were skeptical whether it was even true. When we did, they said we are trying to have an army of people who are going to vote for us. When we started the school feeding, they said we are trying to, it's not true. When they realized that it was true, that it was real, that it was going on, they said, well, it's political. Well, this is a political government, in the sense that it was a political party that was voted into office. So everything you do would be seen from the prism of political persuasion of doing it. And besides, it was a political promise.
A week to Osun election, the vice president was in Osun State and distributing and launched the trader money scheme.
And so many other states.
Does that not make their argument valid?
No, okay, so when he did it in Kogi, was there election in Kogi at that time? Not Kogi, sorry. When he did it in Kaduna, was there election in Kaduna at that time? No. When he did it in Oyo, was there an election in Oyo? No. When he did it in Anambra, was it in Anambra, one of the southeastern states, was there an election going on there? Absolutely not. So when he did it in Cross River, was there an election? No. Was Cross River an APC state? No, it wasn't. So you see, what I'm trying to tell you is there will always be skeptics and cynics and naysayers that would always interpret whatever government does in the negative light, or saying that it's for political reasons. But I'm not trying to tell you that this promises of social investment was born out of a political promise. And I remember in 2015, when we got into office, the first thing everybody kept asking us, where's the 5,000 naira you said you were going to give to poor people? Where's the jobs you promised all these unemployed graduates that you said you were going to give them? I had to go on TV and convince people that, look, we are still running a Jonathan budget as at that time, because Jonathan did a budget for 2015 before he was kicked out of office. Now, we had from May all the way down to December or to next year when we were going to have our own budget before we had our own budget to kick in. It was only when our budget kicked in that we were beginning to do our own programs based on our own budget. So people are always going to interpret these things in this way. There's nothing you can do about that.
Your program has received over 200 billion within the last 2 years. What has this money been used for? And are there any quantitative impact?
It's very funny that you mentioned quantity, because if there's anything we have a lot of is quantity. Our school feeding program alone feeds 9.9 million plus children across 26 states. Sokoto and Adamawa just joined in this last session that the schools have resumed in public primary schools across this country. 9.6 million children through 80,000 cooks in 47,000 primary schools. That is massive number. I've been around the world in a few countries where we've talked about social protection. Nigeria is becoming a reference point as a result of this, and we're newcomers in this game. And before, wherever you go internationally, you talk about social protection, the first country they talk to you about is Brazil, and how much they've been able to move people out of poverty in the last 20 years or so through their Bolsa Familia project,
right,
which is basically what you call social cash transfer. But we're talking about the large numbers. Nigeria just started it in the last 2-3 years. It's unbelievable. The numbers are massive. That's on the one part. If you're talking about direct employment for young people, the graduates that we talked about through the Empower, we did the first 200,000 in 2016. We took the next 300,000 in 2017. If you calculate what we're giving them, 30,000 naira across board to 500,000 people, that is almost 15 billion naira every month that goes into the pockets of people in the 8,812 wards of this country. Those are massive numbers as well. When you talk about the trader money you just talked about, or the cash, let's even talk about the cash transfer. The cash transfer that we do, because the process involves a lot of meticulous details that we have to do, the numbers have not grown as fast as we want them to. Our target was to hit 1 million households, and we give it to the caregivers. Right now, we have in our own National Social Register, which is also a very important thing we're doing through what we call NASCO. It's a department under our office. NASCO just gets all the names of the the names of the poor households in every community into the National Social Register, and we have the profile of these communities. And this is something that we don't do for political reasons. It's something that will be domesticated with the planning ministry. And anytime you want to do anything in this country, you have a prepared plan and you have a profile for every community. Then we move into our own cash transfer office that now mines these numbers and then take these people and pay them. We've been paying about 250,000 people 5,000 naira every month. And I'll tell you a story. There's a village we went to in Zamfara. We wanted to launch this 5,000 naira. And this is also an answer to those people who think 5,000 naira or 10,000 naira are tokenism. And there was an old woman that came. She was 54 years old. She came with 2 of her children for the first time that she was going to be given 10,000 naira, because the 5,000 naira put it together for 2 months and we paid the beneficiaries for logistical reasons. When she came to collect the 10,000 naira, she came with 2 of her sons and a bag, because she thought for 10,000 naira, she needed 2 men to carry the money. This is a real story. I told the vice president about this, and I told the president about this. These are serious issues, because she has never seen in her 54 years of life 10,000 naira cash down. And when we wanted to give her 1,000 naira notes, we had to be advised to bring it down to 50 naira denominations, because those are the money she knows. Those are poor people that this government is reaching out to. They may not have the voice, they may not have Twitter handles or social media, Facebook pages to tell their stories. But these stories are in the nooks and crannies of this country, and the huts and the hamlets.
Away from Twitter and Facebook and the narratives of what most people are putting out there, the fact remains the fact. Nigeria is the poverty capital of the world at the moment. 87 million people are extremely poor. You've given out a number of impacts by the programs you guys have executed so far. Doesn't that show that there's a problem somewhere? That the poverty levels
let me tell you this. Our population is growing. I don't know how they do those statistics of coming to those conclusions.
Right.
I don't know how they do that. And I'm not going to rubbish it and say they're saying nonsense, because I'm not an expert on it, so I do not have the authority to say whether or not it's accurate or not. But I'll tell you this, and this is me from a layman's point of view, that I'll tell you this, that our population is rising, and that the indices that they use, or the indicators that they use to reach this conclusion of saying that this country is poorer than this country, or there are this number of people that are in absolute poverty than this number of people, I'm sure they didn't go to 80 million people and find out that they are poor. They probably use indices. Absolutely. So that's how it works. These things take time. What we have started doing the last 2 years will metastasize over the next couple of few months. And if you do it again, you will see the impact has risen. You will see the impact of what we're doing. So these are things that you cannot measure the impact immediately. But I can assure you, when the impact is being measured again, they would see that the social investment program of this Buhari administration has had serious positive impact and multiplier impact. And let me give you an example of the school feeding I'm telling you. The school feeding alone is not about feeding 9 million children. Mercy. It's not. Because what you do is that, take it for example that you are feeding a child an egg a week. That's 9 million eggs a week. To get 9 million eggs, you need at least 20,000 poultry farms. That has what? That has probably 2,000 chickens that lay, say, 3 eggs in those 7 days. To get 20,000 poultry farms that do that, they have 2,000 chickens. And these chickens would have to be fed by corn and millet that are gotten from local farmers. That is serious multiplier effect that creates wealth and creates an agricultural revolution from the bottom up. That is why we call it homegrown school feeding, because we want to feed them from the food that is grown locally in those communities. That is why we are in collaboration with the state governments and the local governments and the communities where the schools are located. And then they'll be able to give us the menu upon which they generate from their local produce of their food, so that the local farmers that were hitherto just doing farming for subsistence reasons to feed themselves and their family now have a commercial reason to do it because they sell it to our cooks, and our cooks feed their children. So you have a situation where you have a positive ecosystem, where a father is a farmer, the mother can go into cooking, they have a small child now that they can send to school, and then he'll be fed. The federal government pays the mother 17 naira a day to feed her child, and then she buys the food from the father. It happens.
Interesting how you break that down. But your principal, the Vice President Yemi Osinbajo, has been promising for years now that the program would help to recruit about 500,000 graduates as teachers. Till now, we are unable to establish that number. And the employment, what's the status of that employment?
I just told you about it. In Power, we had 200,000, 2016, 300,000.
So do we have 500,000 teachers, graduate employed as teachers right now?
They are not all teachers, but they're all in Power. Some go to teaching, some are into health extension workers, some are agriculture extension workers. Those are verifiable. Everybody knows that. In fact, the most popular program under our social investment office is the Empower, because graduates are involved.
But the chairman of the Senate Appropriation Committee, Senator Danjuma Goje, has said that your program is not well implemented. According to him, he said that he has not seen a single beneficiary of your programs, whether it is Empower or school feeding, in any of his district. Is he lying? Do you agree?
You want me to say that the leader of my party is lying on television? I'm not going to tell you that. But I tell you, he was misinformed, and we rectified that information before we left that Senate hearing that day. I wasn't there. I wasn't present at that meeting. But I know that the sensational journalism that we are so used to caught the part where he was complaining. But the part where it was, and evidence was shown to him of how many people were recruited in Gombe State alone, And then all those issues were settled with him and the and our members and members of our staff that went for that meeting was not captured, even though the media was still there, but they did not capture that essence because that wasn't sensational enough. So they focused on the sensational part. And immediately after that, Empower from Gombe State, who rose up, took a walk to the government house and said, we are Empower beneficiaries and don't you anybody dare touch us. And just for example, if you cut out, if we say that if we have a problem paying Empower stipends at the end of the month, you will see how many people are beneficiaries of Empower.
Do we have 774 local governments feeling the impact of this program?
There is an Empower beneficiary in every ward, not even local governments, in the 8,812 wards. In fact, if you want to be political, close to every unit.
Interesting.
And we have 150,000 units.
Hajia Miriam Huwais, the coordinator of this program, has acknowledged the fact that some of your officials are looting the SIP funds.
No, she's never acknowledged that.
Following the report of a potential EFCC investigation.
She's never acknowledged that.
I wanted you to tell me why your system is porous. No. You don't think that people are already...
No, the system is not porous. In fact, if there's anything, I think it is too regulated. So I'm a research person too. I'm the person on top of this game, so I'll tell you this for free. Okay. She never said that.
I did my homework before coming.
Well, I'm sure that your homework will come from information that we give you.
Okay.
Anyways, no human endeavor, right?
Right.
Let me be serious here. No human endeavor is foolproof. And people are always trying to game the system. There will always be one or two people that always think that they can, swindle the system. Difficult as it may be, but they'll try to do it. That's just human nature, unfortunately. We've had a couple of few people here and there who thought that there was a lot of money flowing to the grassroots, that they could dip their hands through other means, because no middleman. We made sure we cut out all middlemen. So there were no middlemen, but no one person gets all the money and then distributes it. Every of our beneficiary gets his or her money directly. And what she was alluding to at that time was
that... Are there specific measures put in place to avoid looters taking advantage of,
Believe me, if there were looters in this program, then that would be all you'll be hearing. You probably wouldn't. The first question you would ask me would not be whether there's quantitative. You would be why is it there? Why is it fraud? Why is it fraudulent? But that wasn't the first question, because that's not the first worry, because that's not the first issue. We have isolated one or two cases of people that tried to game the system, but they were caught, and it's because of the foolproof nature of because of the measures that were put in place, that they were even easily caught, even though what they were trying to do was minimal compared to the amounts that we're talking about, but they were still caught. And because she is somebody, the president, the vice president, Mrs. Weiss, myself, and so many other people who are running this program are people who have absolute zero tolerance for anything that would hurt, the flow of money to the grassroots, to the people that it's actually meant for. We take this thing seriously, and once it happens, we escalate it to the highest body and the agencies that will make sure that they prosecute and investigate what's going on. So, and she didn't say that this thing is porous or there's fraud in it, but she admitted that one or two people tried to do something and we got them caught. But that is not the major story. The major story is that this is a working program, type of which is absolutely unprecedented, especially in its size and scale and style, and then we're doing it pretty well.
I'm sure you are conversant with the conversation, or you've been opportune to run through a television program or radio program where you've heard a number of Nigerians calling for the scrapping of your program and have dismissed it as an unsustainable socialist intervention that cannot lift Nigerians out of poverty.
It's very easy to condemn things, especially when you are sitting in a very comfortable position. I can admit to you, I'll make this confession, that if I wasn't part of this program, if I hadn't gone out to the field and saw what 5,000 naira could do to a poor household in rural communities, if I haven't seen the positive impact of a chain reaction or the agricultural revolution that is coming from the bottom up through the school feeding program, if I have not seen what a 10,000 naira could do to a petty trader? In Kaswat Dare, for example, in Wudil market, in Wudil local government in Kano South, or places like that. If I haven't seen that with my own eyes, if I haven't heard the stories from these people, then I can easily sit down in this office and comfortably tell you this is a waste of money. But no, it's absolutely not. I would never say anything like that. I have seen the impact. It is unbelievable. So for those who sit down and say it should be scrapped, you can pardon their ignorance. And then the same amount of people or more will tell you that they will call you every day. We get text messages and emails and phone calls and people talking to us, walking up to us and telling us, are you part of the program? Is it under your office? Thank you. And those who are complaining, they will tell you that it hasn't come to their community yet. When somebody tells you that something has not come to his community, believe me, that something is not a bad thing. If you are complaining that it hasn't come to you, it's because it is good. I will tell you that it is coming. It's a gradual process. It's a partnership between federal and state governments and local governments. And we have to do it one step at a time once all the I's are dotted and all the T's are crossed. But I can tell you for free, Mercy.
Is this program delivering any value in terms of economic growth? And what are the indicators to this growth, if any?
What I do know that, for example, I don't know about growth. You know, I told you, you said it, I'm a lawyer, so I'm not an economist. I don't know how the economic statistics work. I'm not even a big believer of all these GDP numbers that people talk about. And like the president used to say, he said that GDP to me is to see that the person who has a cow next to my house in Daura 10 years ago has 5 now. That's GDP growth to me. That's what the president once said. So if somebody knows how to farm who has one small shop in about 20 years ago, should be able to have 2 or 3 shops in the same. Right now. Hold on. That is what GDP growth is, right? Now, so ultimately, there are incremental numbers because social investment in itself, it's about investing in the people at the downtrodden. And I can tell you, like I mentioned earlier, through when you talked about the poverty index, I can tell you for free that when you do your impact assessment and impact evaluation in the next couple of few months or years from now, you would see the impact. Absolutely, I'm absolutely convinced that you see that the numbers have grown in terms of people who have been able to move out of abject poverty, of what social cash transfer has been able to do for the lives of those people who are poor, who have been robbed of the dignity of the humanness, out of poverty. And even the confidence of consistency. The fact that you know that 5,000 naira comes to you every month, that confidence that it gives to the human being, that something comes to him every month, it's enough to move, because markets get customers in rural communities, things happen. So economic growth will happen, maybe not immediately when you check it, but at the long run, when the measurement is made, when the impact is actually done, you would see the numbers would have gone up in favor of economic growth.
Final question to let you go, Barrister Ismaeel. Former Vice President Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, who carries a message of economic prosperity, has just emerged as the main challenger to your principal, President Muhammadu Buhari, ahead of the 2019 general election. Who is overseeing, Buhari is currently naturally overseeing the Nigeria's struggling economy, I'd say. What is your message to the Nigerian masses? Given the fact that you have an Atiku to deal with.
Atiku Abubakar is a formidable challenger, there's no doubt about it. He has an impressive political resume. I've said the times with that number. He started running for office in 1992 or so. As president, he came third behind MK Abiola and Babagana Kingibe. He was supposed to be picked for vice president, he wasn't. He ran for governor. In 1999, won as governor-elect. He was picked as vice president because he led the PF, the political front of Nigeria, of the Yar'Adua movement in the 90s. Ran for president 2007, 11, 15. lost 2 in the primaries, went to general election once in 2007. But we had an Eradu to deal with who was supported by the incumbent at that time. This is the first time after 12 years of trying that he is a presidential candidate, not an aspirant of the PDP, but a candidate. But he's going against somebody who has far more towering political records, and that's President Muhammadu Buhari. President Muhammadu Buhari has demonstrated capacity for performance and integrity. And I think the stark contrast between our candidate and Atiku couldn't be more clear. By no means are we underestimating him. By no means will we underestimate him. He has been part of a government that we believe hemorrhaged this country's economy when they had untold opportunity to grow this country and straighten it in the political straight path. I think they've bundled their chance. He has been looking for another chance since then. But unfortunately, I think for him, is that this country right now, if you ask most people, 7 out of 10 Nigerians you ask on the street, what do you think is Nigeria's biggest problem? They'll first tell you corruption, poor management, poor leadership. People who simply do not see this country as a country that needs to prosper on its own, that they equate their personal prosperity as that of the country's prosperity. The president doesn't see that. He's a serviceman. We have a general who has become a Democrat, someone who understands the fact
Is he a Democrat?
Well, what else is he? Is he not?
We have political prisoners right now.
Like who?
I can go on and on.
No, just give me one example.
El-Zakazay.
Who?
The sheikh from Zaria, yeah.
El-Zakzaki?
Yes, Zakazay.
How is El-Zakzaki a political prisoner? Is he into politics?
Okay. So why is he refusing to release him from detention after several court orders? After several court orders?
Is the president the one detaining him? Sambon Dasuki is not a political prisoner. No, first of all, these are not political prisoners. They are not politicians to start with. And El-Zakzaki is not a political prisoner. He's not. It was not out of political disagreement. You know what happened. And you know why he was taken into custody. I don't know about the court orders. I heard that there were court orders to free him. Okay. So I cannot speak intelligently on that, right, because I don't know. For the Suki, I think I know that there were a couple of few court orders, but then for every court order that comes out, the police goes back with another charge, and then he gets to remain in prison. So he still remains in prison legally, not illegally. That's for sure. And none of the 2 people you mentioned are political prisoners. But I'm not saying that with absolute truth that I know that there was no court order in terms of Zazaki. I don't know that. So I can't speak I don't speak on things that I don't know. But no, the president...
But you're sure that Buhari is coming back in 2019?
I'm a Muslim, right? So I cannot predict the future with absolute certainty. But I can tell you this. I know my candidate. I know the president. I know this political terrain fairly well. Atiku could be a formidable challenger. And maybe we need a formidable challenger to make us sit us up, especially in the campaign structure and the people who are with the president. But ultimately, I think the president is going to win. I think the president is going to win based on his performance, based on his persona, based on his integrity. And I think it's clear Nigerians are very clear-eyed about who these people are. And they will go.
Ismaeel, thank you for your time.
Thank you so much.